All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. We've been kind of excited about this for a while. This is one of my first community webinars. And so we're just going to go ahead and get started here. So today is a session for designers. And our topic is how to connect your design system to engineering workflows. Let's see. I'm the speaker for today. My name is Jake Love. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Knapsack. Our agenda for today is quickly running through some design system goals and what those kind of look like. We're going to introduce package publishing and how that pipeline sort of works. We're going to do a live demonstration, and then we're going to start, or we're not going to start, we're going to have time for QA at the end. So kicking this off, whenever we are going to create a design system, we generally have specific goals that we set out to achieve. Those things could be, things like decreasing product costs, increasing consistency, increasing sharing of innovation, all of those things that allow us to, really develop our design system and reuse the tools that we create in that. And so how do we achieve these goals? We achieve these goals by reusing coded solutions. And that could be, components, that can be design tokens, styles, anything that is a reusable thing that we don't have to reinvent the wheel for. And so when we talk about, package publishing and sort of the pipeline, the timeline for getting things into our system, we really sort of see this kind of flow. We identify needs, we do planning and resourcing, we document and build, we export those changes in usually the form of NPM packages, and we also implement those things then in product, and the end result is delighted users. What we often find, though, is that folks spend a lot of time in this identifying need, planning and resources, and documenting and building. And we don't a lot of times get to this export change, implementing production and delighted users for a long time. And so when we have that kind of a structure, we can't see the ROI until we're shipping the system. And so if we spend time in planning and we spend time just building and churning the lifetime for what it takes to actually get us into a production state and allow these things to actually be usable, it takes a while. And this can cause confusion between teams. This can cause issues for folks that are just kind of wondering what the design system team is working on. And so in our experience, the way to really get through this and to get that ROI much faster is to ship things very quickly. And that's why at Knapsack, when we set up a design system and we set up our starter kits for everybody, it comes with package publishing right away. And the whole flow, everything from, the local environment to cloud authoring and package publishing is all just baked in from day one. And so connecting your design system workflows to the way you ship code is very important. And that brings us to one of our main topics today, Node Package Manager, NPM. It's the default package manager for the JavaScript runtime environment, Node.js. It was initially released in January of 2010, and version 1 was officially released in May of 2011, officially ushering in the age of global package management. Package publishing pipeline. So this is kind of the general flow that we see in engineering workflows. There's always a Git repository, and that could be, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and that's where the design system source code lives. There's a build process that usually runs during the CI/CD process, and that is basically anytime code is merged into the main branch, that creates artifacts for us, which we're able to package up into our NPM packages. And so we put those NPM packages on package registries. So that's our host, and they're either private or public. Here at Knapsack, we always lean towards the private side. And of course, we ship those things, allowing engineers and teams downstream to be able to use those NPM packages. And then engineers have what they need and are ready to go. And so if we kind of take a look at what this looks like after we've shipped our packages, what we get is our named packages. So here we have Knapsack Cloud, Demo Design System React. So this is our React components that we've shipped. We're able to import those components. So in this example, we're importing our button. And then, of course, we're referencing those assets when we build. And so this is actually the code pulling directly from this import that provides us this button. What you're seeing here is actually a snapshot from Knapsack. And this is what we generate. So we generate production-ready code. So that way, once you've spent the time with teams to make sure that you get things exactly how you like, you can get what you are anticipating from the system. So when is the right time to set this up? And kind of what we were talking about early on, it's not down the road. It's right now. Setting this stuff up right away allows us to get that return on our investment very quickly. And so when we looked at our pipeline earlier, we have these 5 to 6 stages in there. And if we spend more time on the churning, if we spend more time documenting and building and discussing the documentation, what we have is we have this side of our chart again, where we don't see the return on our investment for a while. But if we're able to actually get our changes exported right away, we're able to implement those things in production into our apps or our websites, whatever that we have that we're going to work on. So, and again, that gets us through to our ROI. So now we're going to go ahead and do a little walkthrough and kind of show how we can take these, published packages that we've already gotten, we've refined, and we can actually use this to build a one-page app with room to grow. And so we're going to go ahead and get started on there. So before we got started, I basically spun up something using a simple tool called Create React App. And so I'm going to go ahead and just jump into that. And we're going to go ahead and start up our local web server. And then I'm going to open up VS Code so we can kind of take a peek at what's happening under the hood here. So now that we've got this simple React application, if we actually take a look at the, sorry, give me 1 second here, jumping ahead. We have our application opening up on a different browser tab. This is what we get. So this is just right out of the box with the Create React app. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Knapsack to build a layout based on the components that we've already refined and we've already worked with our teams to get published. And then we're going to actually create this right in here. So I'm going to jump into Knapsack. And for those that haven't seen this before, we have things like rich documentation that allows us to, tell folks how they should use the system. We have, information about how to get started with everything from design files to videos and workflows. We've got, of course, our design tokens here. So, we've worked on our, brand specific colors. We've added, base colors and all kinds of things that we want to use in the system. We've got breakpoints. We've got spacing scales. And obviously, the thing that we do when we create these is we take away the ability to have magic numbers, magic values, which when you take away magic numbers and magic values and we have refined tokens, we have refined scales, what we get is consistency, which is really important because I think one of the most frustrating things that happens from the design to the engineering handoff is when something looks great in a design, but when it actually makes its way to production, it doesn't quite reflect that same, refined look. And so that's why tokens are quite important. When we go into our components here, we can actually see, for example, if I look at a layout component, we've got a Figma comp in here, which was what we were going to build for this component. It takes a header, some body, and of course, some child components here. And here we're showing some cards. And then when we actually jump into the system, we have the ability to adjust these things if we'd like. We can add additional items. We have multiple variations of this. So we have a 2 card, and we've also got a 3 card example. And just like in the slides we were looking at, we get this production-ready usage example with our imports and as well with our actual code that we would use in production to display these components. And so once we've got our cards, we've got our layouts, we've got this system refined, we want to build something with it, and we want it to be something that we can reliably, that can reliably show what we've put into the system. So we've got these components, and I'm going to go ahead and go into our prototyping section here. And we got this little homepage builder tool, and I'm going to go ahead and just add some things in here. So we got our hero component. So I'm going to add our hero with our navigation so we can kind of get that as the top of our app. I'm going to add some layout. So let's go ahead and add some layout in here. Okay, we got some cards. That looks great. I'm going to add, let's say, another header section. And then I'm also going to add a footer. And what we get when we have all this, we open this up. This looks pretty great, and it's fully responsive. This is production-ready code. And so I want to see this end up in production state. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what we've created inside of Knapsack, and we're going to build that into our Create React app right here. And so we're going to go ahead and switch over to the code. And earlier, what I talked about was that you have the ability to have private or public NPM packages. We always lean towards security and doing things the most secure way. And so we obviously use the private side of things. Now, when you have a private package, you need to be able to authenticate in order to pull that down. And that protects your code, that protects your source, so that way anyone that was able to figure out your package names couldn't just pull those things down. And so in order to do that, we'd need something. We need an npm-rc file, and I won't go too deep into this right now, but for those that are curious about this, essentially what we're doing is we're saying, anytime that you see a Knapsack cloud scope, look for the registry at this location, which is the GitHub registry. And then, of course, use an authentication token. And I've got this stored in a secret location, top secret location on my system. But what this allows us to do is then we can install our packages. So I'm going to fire this up. I'm just going to run an install command here. And what this is going to do is it's going to install the main React components. And it's also going to install any of the dependencies that we've marked inside of our package. And these React components, they depend on styles. They depend on tokens. And so if we take a look at our node modules, these are the packages that we're pulling in. And so we've got our Knapsack cloud packages. And here we've got our React package that we just installed. And we also get our design tokens, some shared types if we want to use those, as well as our styles here. And so let's go ahead and keep on moving here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the source for this app. Here we go. So this is app.js. This is what creates this for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull in our assets. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this logo and replace the CSS file with our demo design system styles that we've already achieved here. And then I'm also going to take a look at what we did inside of Knapsack. Don't pay no attention to this yet. And so we're going to basically take this code. Wait for it. And so here, again, this is the production ready code that we've got. I'm going to copy this, head back over to our code base, and then I'm going to replace what we see here and do a quick rename. Save this. And now when I come back over here, we saw that screen for one moment, but then it shifted over. And so this is a React application that we were able to put together based on the one-page example that we created inside of Knapsack. And so we see, I mean, our fonts are correct. Everything is in the place that it should. It's fully responsive. So here we go. Here's our mobile view. And we're able to rely on the design system to give us exactly what we were anticipating. And again, we've spent time, creating these hero components. We've spent time, making sure that all this stuff works perfectly. And so we want to be able to reliably depend on the system that is introducing this. And so that's kind of what we get. And we're going to go just a little bit deeper here. I'm going to actually install a new package for us. Some of you may have heard this before, but it's called styled components. It allows us to build our components inside of our React environment. And then we can do things like use our design tokens that we've also brought into the system. So what we're going to do here is we're going to first import our styled component. So I've got from styled components. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to import our design tokens. And so import, get this ready here from Knapsack cloud / here we go, design tokens. And then what we're going to be able to do here is we'll see all of our auto-injected design tokens here. Again, we spent time on these breakpoints. We spent time on our colors and getting our brand stuff just right. Spacing scales, all kinds of things, shadows, animations, anything else that could be a token, we've got in this system. And so like I have said before, we don't have any magic numbers anymore. We don't have any magic values. These are all things that, our teams have worked very hard to create. And so we don't want to create any inconsistencies. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in some of our spacing. So we're going to get spacing medium. We're also going to get our color brand primary. And we're also going to pull in our color brand white. And so now what we can do is we can use our styled components, and I'll go ahead and just paste this little snippet in here. And essentially what I'm saying is let's create a div and let's give it these values here. And so we can use this now as a component using our color brand primary, our color brand white, and our spacing. So let's go ahead and put a banner to our users above our hero. And so we'll add custom banner here. And then inside of this, we'll say, this is a message to our users. I'll save this. We'll switch back over to our browser. And now we see this is a message to our users. And so pulling it all together. So if there's ever a situation where, there's something that we need built into a property, but we don't have a component for it, and it might not make sense to add a component for it, we can still provide design direction to our engineers, comps to build these things, and they can use the values directly from our system. So that's kind of how we're pulling all that stuff together. And I think, we can open this up to see if anyone else has any questions. Versioning of packages. Yeah. Okay. Yep. I see that. Yep. We do include versioning of packages in our system. Yeah. What's the strategy there? Yep. So we use, there's lots of ways that you could achieve semantic versioning. We use a tool that's created by Intuit. It's called Auto. And that allows us, when anything is merged into the main branch, to do the semantic versioning based on a label. And if there's no label, we just assume it's a patch version. It also updates our change logs for each one of the packages in the system because we use monorepos. And then ultimately, then it publishes those packages for us on the private GitHub NPM repository. Yeah, you're welcome.
Jake, are there other package technologies other than NPM out there?
Well, see, NPM is the main one that is used. There's other tools that you can use along with NPM. There's tools like NPX, which allows you to use packages that you don't necessarily have installed right away. There's also a system like Yarn, which before was one of the best ways to achieve, workspaces and have like monorepos. We use Yarn a lot of times for our systems, but yeah, those are sort of the other technologies that you might find in that ecosystem.
Awesome.
Totally.
We will share this presentation out. I think we'll go ahead and get, I think everyone who registered should get a recording, but if not, we'll go ahead and follow up as well. Bloom had another question there, Mr. Bloom, on what is the general time to get a package published?
Yeah, what is the general time to get a package published? Well, see, we set up package publishing right out the gate. So on day one, if we have customers using the system, they can make changes, whether that's in the cloud or locally as an engineer, push those changes up, get them merged in, and our actions that we have in GitHub already set up will run what it needs to run. It'll build those packages and release them. So the answer is basically day one, and it really only takes about 3 minutes for that to occur. It's a good question. Thanks, Chris. Let's see, any other thoughts or questions? We kind of blew through that a little bit quickly, but I think that kind of underscores once you have something in the state where you've got your packages, you've got everything going, you can do things really fastly. Let's see, any version limitation on React? No, I don't think so. I think we do use React 18. If there was a need to extend, to a different version, that's things that we would just adjust at the workspace level. There's a root package JSON. That is where we run pretty much all of our commands. We use Lerna, so you can, run a build command at the root, and then it jumps into all of our packages and runs that build. Same thing with like a start or a clean command. And each one of the, like the React package or the styles package, each one of those has their own package JSON. So if there are specific build processes that you need, if you're, adding in another tool that needs to happen during the build time, you can add that pretty easily, just as you normally would expect inside of the dependencies or dev dependencies.
There's a question in the Q&A from Sid, Jake.
Ooh, let's see.
What should we do if we don't want the packages that we added?
What should we do if we don't want the packages we added? Well, so that's actually pretty simple. There is a private key inside of those package JSON files that we were just talking about in each one of the workspaces. And so If you wouldn't want a package to publish, we would just set the private to true. We actually have a package that we have in each workspace that doesn't publish. It's an HTML package. Just haven't found a reason to publish HTML files. But in that same regard, if you did find that you wanted, some additional packages, the way that we have it set up is really simple. You just would add a new directory inside of our packages directory, and then add a package JSON with, the right keys, like a title, any entry points that you need for it, build script, those kinds of things. And then you would have package publishing pretty much right out the gate. Thanks, Sid. That was good. Good question. What's a strategy to share these packages outside the team in other departments? Yeah. So I would say like the strategy there is, obviously we need to get those teams, access to the specific repository or give them personal access tokens to be able to actually pull those things down. And obviously the goal for a design system is to be able to use those pretty globally. And so we have a lot of teams that, there's a main design system team that is building a lot of the components. But they also have, like a marketing team, and they've got a core team that is building with those components and with those styles, all of their applications essentially. And my demo wasn't working great for pulling in those design tokens for some reason, but that's something that it's pretty important, because if you were to say, hey, we got this specific component, this specific, presentation of something that we want to build, we don't really want magic numbers, and because that's how you get the inconsistent presentation. And so we've got spacing scales, we've got colors, we've got all those things already. And so using those design tokens, we can assemble anything and make sure that it's right on brand and it fits in with the rest of the system. Totally. These are good questions. Thank you very much, folks. So we'll wait another moment here, and I think that probably concludes what we've got. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. This was fun for me. Like I said, this is first of many, and I look forward to seeing hopefully more of you folks on further community webinars. Thank you very much, everyone.